So I was just sitting there, just enjoying the place. Ordered a Coke and a burger. Fucking burger. Burger in paradise. Somebody should have made a country song, western song about it. A burger in paradise. You know, why is it wherever, you know, British people go or American people go, they have to fucking serve burgers and fries? You know, why can't they come up with something original? But yeah, so got a burger and fries and stuff, and I got Kitty a little bit of fish, a little bit of cooked fish, and some shrimps, and she just absolutely loved it. She'd never had them before. She was used to fish, but she wasn't used to cooked fish, which was different. So I got a little bit of fish and stuff, and she was happily just purring and playing on Laura's titties, and that was it. So Laura and Andy chatted away a little bit. Andy would bring me into the conversation every now and then, but because I didn't know her, I didn't really have that much to say, to be honest. And I just got up, said excuse me for a minute. I left Kitty where she was because she was quite safe, and I just walked over to the end of the little dining area that we're sitting on, and it went down onto a little beach, and there was a little dock with a couple of little boats moored at it. And I just excused myself and I walked down and I went on the end of the dock. And the dock was just a plain dock, there was nothing built on it. You know, there was no palapa, there was no seating areas. It went for about 30 feet. There was a couple of little fishing boats, and it looked to me like a scuba diving delivery boat. And yeah, so I went down, stood down there for about 10 or 15 minutes, drank my Coke, made my way up again, and Andy and Laura were still talking. So once I went over and sat down, Laura excused herself and she asked us how long we would be here, and if we were staying here, and Andy goes yes. Andy mentioned the room numbers, and he says, you know, if you'd like to have, you know, lunch with us or dinner with us in the evening, you know, give us a knock on the door, or have the desk ring us, and you know, we'll meet you for lunch. And she said that was lovely. So that was it, and I just smiled at Andy and she got up and walked off, because for a lady her age, she was well put together. Kitty didn't seem to want to leave her. She kind of clung on to her a little bit, and Laura lifted her off and gave her a little kiss on the head and stuff and handed her back to me, and she just quite happily settled back on my shoulder, and then she kind of hopped off and she just sat on the table. And the good thing about it was, nobody minded. Nobody was saying, oh, there's no animals allowed in here, there's no cats here, there's no dogs or nothing, you know, because the local dogs used to walk into the cafes, you know, in Belize when I was down there, and the locals wouldn't feed them, they'd kind of skit them away, but me and the tourists and other people would give them food, even though, you know, the owners would say, don't feed the dogs, don't feed the animals. We'd feed them anyway. That's just how it was. You know, I loved animals of all kinds, so I was gonna, if I'm fucking paying for something, I'm gonna feed them. It's as simple as that. Don't really give a fuck who likes it and who doesn't. So anyway, that was it. So Laura left. She gave us a little wave. She shook my hand and she gave Andy a little kiss in the cheek, and I gave Andy a cheeky little side look, and you know, I kind of went. Andy just kind of looked at me like an old grumpy old father, and then he kind of, you know, smirked a little bit, and I was like, "You're fucking in there, Andy. You're in there like a man like Flint," you know. And Andy just kind of scoffed. When Andy got excited, Andy had spittles coming out the side of his mouth each side, and he was kind of spittling a little bit. And I reached over with a napkin and cleaned his little sides of his mouth, and he just fucking got a bit pissed off of that. So it was good to see him smile. It was really, really good to see Andy smile. It was good to see Andy, you know, speak to somebody other than me or Jeff, you know, and yeah, it was really, really good to see that. He had a bit of colour back in his cheeks, and he just seemed to not I wouldn't say be healing, but I just think it kind of dawned on Andy that, you know, Tom was now gone, and, you know, he had memories and stuff, and they had a couple of photographs of them together and stuff, and you know, I think Andy was kind of like on to the point now where, you know, he was maybe going to come out of his shell a little bit, and maybe just, you know, start accepting that, you know, he kind of had to move on, which is not easy for anybody to do, but, you know, now he just kind of had to move on a little bit, and it was good to see him. It was good to see him smile. So Andy was absolutely amazed that I got over 9 grand out of Mark that he'd paid for everything up front. And he asked me how I was, and I just says he's a complete fucking cock. I says the guy is a complete fucking oxygen thief. And Andy just kind of, and I says, is that why you sent me on my own? And he just basically goes, yeah. He goes, I didn't like him. He says, I never liked him last time. He goes, him and I would always kind of, you know, argue. I says, no, he didn't fucking argue with me. I said, he tried to make a smart remark. I says about no animals allowed on the premises because he didn't want them pissing everywhere. And I said, well, she's not an animal and she's more fucking intelligent. I says, and better mannered than most people I've come across. And I says, it kind of set him back a bit, and Andy just kind of laughed at that. Delivered everything, checked everything off. Andy got his 2 sets of paperwork. Mark had got his set of paperwork, and was happy enough, and he paid up front. And he also says for us to go back, probably the day before we're going, because he'll have another order. And Andy was absolutely stunned when I just handed him $9,200 or $300. He's just absolutely stunned, you know. Andy did his customary thing, counted out 500, gave me $500, and Andy shook my hand and says, you know, Carl, he says, I'm glad you came, you know what I mean, what do you think of the island? And I says, it's absolutely stunning, you know. I said, it reminds me so much of, you know, San Pedro. And he says to me, do you miss, I says, yeah, I says, I do miss San Pedro. I says, you know, I miss David. I says, don't get me wrong, Andy. I says, you know, it's nice being in the city, it's nice being off the island for a while. I said, because my head was going to pop. And I says, I was just ready to lynch a few people and stuff. And he goes, call it is an island at the end of the day. He says, at least with the city, he says, there's places you can go to. You can get in the car, you can drive down to the Keys. You know, you can drive out of state. You know what I mean? He says, you know, you can drive the Everglades. You know, there's so much to do. You know, we have cinemas here. You know, we've got shopping malls, gun ranges. You know, we've got wildlife parks. You know, that type of thing. He says you can drive 10 hours Alligator Alley from one side of, you know, fucking Florida to the other. It's a straight road. You know what I mean? And he said it's amazing. And he says, you know, he says that he lived in San Pedro for a year when he was establishing his business, and he goes, and after about 6 months, you know, he just says he couldn't take it anymore. He says people were lovely, you know, and everybody liked Andy. Everybody that I spoke to about Andy on the island absolutely liked Andy. And oh, there's a squirrel. And then Andy just absolutely, you know, just couldn't wait to go home, basically, and you know, and get back up to the city, because Andy was a city boy after all. So he liked to fly, he liked his gun ranges, he liked his mall, he liked his cinema. He had his girlfriend at the time as well, so you know what I mean. And I just quickly said that, and I said, fucking hell, Andy, you know, play your cards right, mate. You'll get your leg over. You'll get your leg over before you go. And he just laughed. Andy just guffawed like an old donkey, you know. So good to see him smile again. So yep, Andy was happy with the money. Andy says that he would do the next couple of dive shops for me to just take it easy, because he was happy enough that I did that one guy. And once he got the other couple of dive shops covered, him and I would basically we would just basically, you know, hang out for a couple hours and just drive around the island, which I was really looking forward to. Yeah, so that was it. That was the plan. Nothing strenuous, just the same stuff. Andy says if I needed any time just to take to myself, is not a problem. So he was happy enough. I was happy enough. I just made $500. And it was soon going to be payday as well. Come the end of the month, Andy was going to hand me another $1,500, and I wasn't going to say no to that. And yeah, I was happy enough. And also going back, I would be seeing, you know, Dick, possibly Gary, Dave, and also seeing Fiona. So that was everything was well planned. I just lived one day at a time, to be honest. I looked forward to these things, but I just had learned to just live one day at a time, because things could change and things could happen so quickly, and your whole fucking plans just go down the toilet. So I just learned to just basically live one day at a time, to look forward to things, yes, but not to make too many plans. And I'd learned that again from David. I'd learned that from him. And with David, I always kind of paid attention to what he was saying. Yeah, and just lived like that.